What in, Logic's back with another one. Today we're going to look at a video I found quite interesting. The title I found quite interesting is called Not Having Kids is Selfish. Yep, I said it. By Confidence Creator. He is a YouTuber I've been watching for a little while now. He touches on interesting topics and always has an interesting take on them. A lot of red pill stuff, a lot of male empowerment stuff, but I think he's one of the good male empowerment content creators. Unlike the red pill shit, he kind of goes hard at them because a lot of them spit some bullshit. But nonetheless, this is a good topic, especially as me being a dad. I was interested to see a defense of not having kids is selfish. This is something I've said in the past to some people that don't want to have kids, and it sounds judgy, but it's not. It's kind of like, well, if you know that you don't want to ever have kids at any point in life, it is a sense of selfishness in that. But the fact that you're acknowledging it, I think is better than just having kids because you think you're supposed to. I always see people defend not having kids. So I thought it'd be interesting to see someone actually say you should have kids sooner than later. But before we get into that, man, I want y'all to know we are trying to make it to 5,000 subs by the 4th of July. So I can only do that with y'all help by sharing these videos, these streams, leaving likes, leaving comments, leaving subs. So with all that being said, let's get into the video.
I don't want children, and for the majority of my adult life, the past 6 or 7 years, I'm 30 now, I've been pretty confident that I don't want children. But what I haven't been confident about is answering why I don't want children.
Why is it a bad idea to have kids?
Oh shit. Here we go again.
Hey Siri, should I have kids?
I'm not your conscience or your uterus. Maybe you should decide.
This
According to a post on Scary Mommy, your financial situation should not be a determining factor in whether or not you have kids.
I need you to shut the hell up for the immediate future.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying if you have a bad financial situation to have kids. If it's bad, no, of course not. But if you're in a comfortable place, I think, because people tend to think that I don't have the most money I'll ever accumulate in life, I can't have kids right now, everything will go to shit. And that's just not how it works, because I think you'll never be content with making enough money to have kids if that's your thought process. Now, like I said, being in a bad position, you don't want to have kids. But if you're comfortable and you want to have kids, you shouldn't be like, I don't think I can afford them, I can't do it. If you're in a good spot and you don't feel you don't have a big financial burden that you feel like is unbearable. So I think you should have kids, and don't feel like you have to wait until you've accumulated the most amount of money you think you'll make for a long time until you have it, because then you're putting it off, and then that comes with other different issues. But yeah, I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not gonna repeat myself.
When you are parentified too early, that eats away at your.
Well, you know, with Umar, we gotta parentified. Even if it's not a word, I know what he's getting at, but I understand what he's trying to say, but that's a weird word.
Desire to have your own children because you had to be mom and dad to your little brothers and little sisters. And so a lot of times.
Okay. I learned something new today. Thank you, Umar. Parentified is a child who is forced, exactly how we use it, a child who is forced to take on parental roles and responsibilities before they're developmentally ready. Interesting.
The oldest kid, don't have children because they were parentified to.
They already raised kids.
They already raised kids. So, but there's a trauma there.
Most of the content creators that have made this video have given you reasons on why you should not have a kid. And as a married man with 2 kids and currently under contract negotiations with my wife for a 3rd, I'm gonna tell you why you should have kids. See, most Americans don't think long term, which is why most of y'all are broke.
I'm broke, nigga. I'm broke.
That's not a diss. That's reality.
Yep,
and it's okay for you to have these thoughts in your 20s. But I don't care what society tells you. When you hit your 30s, it's almost too late.
27, time to sell. 30, 50% off.
I told y'all he be coming at the red pill, but he know when a real nigga in the room. And I'm sorry for everybody that don't like Kevin Samuels. I think that he wasn't perfect, but he was the best version of the toxic version of Red Pill Manosphere. Like, he was toxic. Kevin was a little toxic. He was over the top. But I think he was just right at that limit. Like, not Jerry Springer, but he was right at that threshold of doing too much versus doing what needs to be done. It was the tough. I feel like he was more of a tough love type of guy.
Over 35 on clearance.
This doesn't just apply to women.
It don't
40
just.
outlet.
That's true. It doesn't just apply to women. That does not just apply to women.
50 Goodwill.
If you want
Salvation
kids as a
Army.
man.
And you think you're the exception to the rule,
I just happen to be the exception to the rule, and my girl happens to be the exception to the rule.
but you're not.
Everybody thinks they're the
Exactly.
exception to all these rules. Everybody thinks they're the exception to every kind of problem, right?
And you're not. I'm 35.
Damn.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Some say I don't look like it, but I tell you one thing, I feel it.
No Diddy, you know.
I'm getting old, and the men my age, they're growing gray hairs, they're balding. Trust me, that smoking and drinking is catching up to them. Everyone is partying, and your legacy, well, you haven't even thought about it. So here's my controversial take. Not having kids is probably one of the most selfish things this generation has decided not to do. Your ancestors didn't survive.
Yeah, like I said in the beginning, man, I do think I would rather you recognize it and behave the way you feel like is going to be suitable for your life. But if you do want kids, if you actually know that you will be fulfilled with having kids and that's something you think you want, do not keep putting that shit off. It doesn't benefit you or your child to put it off and you have your first child at 38, and especially if you want more than one. You just don't want to do that. You just don't. You're gonna give yourself less time to be with them, and then hardly no time, if any, to have to experience grandkids. You know, I see how my mom is so freaking happy with my daughters, and it's just like, I just want that too. You know what I'm saying? So, and of course I can't make my kids have kids, but you do want to be able to be a grandparent. You know what I'm saying? Especially a retired one.
Slavery and everything else for you to just cancel the family tree. They fought so their bloodline could thrive, and having kids isn't just about lineage, it's about legacy. It's about building something bigger than yourself. Your name, your values, your grind, they all live on through your kids. And look how far we've come. Life is supposed to get easier for the generation after us. My grandparents dealt with segregation and fought for civil rights so that my parents could work their asses off so that my life could be easier. And you think they did all that so that you could be the only person who gets to travel the world, drink yourself to death, constantly go on vacations, get old, and die alone.
Then you're gonna die alone. How about that?
It's fucking selfish. I work my ass off so my kids' life can be easier.
It is
So
selfish.
don't let the sacrifices of those who came before you stop with you. You owe it to them and to yourself to keep your story going. But fuck your legacy. If you don't care about it, why should I? I keep telling men there are pros and cons to everything.
Yeah,
People are always on the
everything.
internet talking about the cons of having kids, but you don't know what you're missing. And that's the love you didn't see coming. And you've never felt love the way your child will love you because you've been their hero from day one. My favorite part about having kids is life starts over and you realize how precious all of the things you took for granted are. Because if you've lost someone you truly love or cared
Wait.
about,
Oh, it was about Kobe. I'm like, why you got Shaq up there? It look like a RIP for Shaq, but I see Kobe was in the corner.
you realize that life is short and one day you're watching them learn how to crawl and months later they're walking. Then you're watching them learn how to talk and months later they won't shut up. But these are all good memories. Taking them to the park,
Oh
the
man,
birthdays.
Low dead ass, bro. Like I said, if you want kids, you do not want to not have these experiences, bro. Like every day I look at my kids, I'm like, yo, like you was doing nothing. You was just in my hands babbling and not able to do nothing. And I look back at the videos teaching her how to read and stuff and point. My daughter, we pointing out stuff and she's reading words and like, you know, barely able to enunciate, and now she's talking back to me like she's been here before me and shit. Like, it's just so crazy to see that shit, and like you do keep wanting to relive that, and that's why I think that's a big reason of why people tend to keep having kids. They just miss them babies. Like, you just miss the baby, you know, man.
them graduating from kindergarten, then 5th grade, their first crush, their first heartbreak. Memories that money can't buy, because you get to see the world through their eyes. You see the world in the simplest form, and that to me is magical. But you don't care about that either. So let's talk about discipline, because you lack it, and kids help you with that. You've got a little human watching your every move. Kids don't just teach discipline, they demand it. So imagine you sitting around all weekend not doing anything, and your kid walks up to you and you ask them,
Does daddy smell?
Yeah.
Is daddy ugly? Yeah. Has daddy got gappy teeth?
yeah. You might think, oh, all she knows how to say is yes, and you would be wrong.
Can mommy cook?
No.
That cute little baby got the same gap in between her teeth.
That's
too cute.
hilarious.
And as a man, a kid gives you a new purpose. Kids give you responsibilities, which a lot of this generation tends to run away from. Trust me, you can't tell your kids to work harder in school when you're not working hard at life. You've made
no progress. None.
You can't tell them not to quit when you quit at fucking everything you do. Quick story time. I was playing ball the other day, and I realized that I've been teaching my son not to be passive when he plays. Meanwhile, I'm scared to shoot because my form is funny looking, even though I shoot better than damn near everybody in the gym. But my whole life, I've always been afraid to shoot. But that shit stopped today. Talking about pass me the ball.
And fuck that. Get it off the rebound if I miss, bro.
Having kids is also your second chance at life. I just told you, I had some insecurities about shooting, but my kids have the dog in them. And I put it there because who gives a shit what people think? Shooters shoot, and no one cares how it looks when it goes in. Take a second and think about how we got into the whole gentle parenting thing. I think it's because, if I'm being honest, most of our parents used to beat our ass, but times have changed, and we no longer move like that anymore. My father loved me.
I think it's a big misconception that you have to put your hands on your kids to get them to act right. Like especially with a lot of the things that make them happy is like electronics and online and stuff like that. You take that shit away from your kids, they're distraught. They don't know what the fuck to do with themselves, and they want to get their act together. You don't have to hit your kids. Like, excuse me. It's just so many other ways to go about disciplining your kids that you do not have to touch them. Now, there's an issue where some kids are just so out of pocket that you want to, and you're driven to that because you feel like you're at wit's end and don't know what else to do. But I think a lot of those extreme cases is usually down to some type of mental issue. Like, you know, I don't know a nicer way to put it, but there's a mental health issue possibly going on where they're to the point where you feel like you got to put your hands on it because you don't know what else to do or whatever.
Wasn't always able to be at every event I was in, and it's because he was working his ass off. So I make it a point to never put making extra money over being there for my kids. And even comparing me to my father doesn't quite seem fair because I make a lot of money. But none of this would have been possible without all the hard work, all of the sacrifices my parents made. They walked so I can run. I run so my kids can fly. But what about the people who grew up without a father? Well, we're seeing statistics saying that black dads are now the most involved over any other race.
I know with these statistics, they always count like married people, but a lot of less and less people are getting married, but that doesn't mean they're not cohabitating or they're not in their child's life. And then they were saying like, oh, black dads are missing in the house. And it's like, no, black dads are involved with their fucking kids. They're not always married. Even if the parents aren't together, the dad isn't necessarily just out of the picture in all cases. You know what I'm saying? So
one of the goals is challenging the absent black father myth. A 2013 study by the CDC shows 70% of black fathers who live with their children were most likely to be involved in activities like bathing, dressing, and driving their children to activities compared with their white or Hispanic counterparts.
The sad thing is that dads,
I wonder how they calculated that,
have capes on their back, but they're never shown as heroes.
Yeah. We're breaking generational curses, and I love that for us. And I'm just gonna ramble off a few more benefits because I don't want this video to be too long, but there are health benefits to having kids. Trust me, when you're living for more than just yourself, some people, most men, tend to take better care of themselves because they have a reason to stick around. Another point, kids are pure
I agree with that, but I don't know. I don't think that if you're a man and you're happy without kids, that you're gonna like not give a fuck about how you feel. Because even if you don't want kids, you probably want women, so you want to be healthy to attract them, to keep them, to be around, to experience them, to be around for your friends, your family, the work you do, whatever. So I get it as a reason to have kids and what it'll help benefit you. But I feel like that one in particular, you could that can go plenty of ways. I don't think you just need kids to be healthier. I think men tend to want to do that anyway if they're already in a good place in life.
Most of the time, they don't try to be funny. They just are funny. And when you treat them right, my next point is you'll have someone to look out for you as you get up in age. I know we all
That's
joke
true.
about this, but do you really want to die alone?
Oh, Lord.
You want to be surrounded, hopefully, by a spouse, some kids, and if the good Lord sees fit, some grandkids. Life was never meant to be lived alone. And it's unfortunate that due to social media and other influences, most of us don't think we need kids, and the rest of us are waiting too late. We went from one extreme to the other. We can all argue that having kids at age 15, 16, 17, hell, under 21 is a
not a
little
good
too
idea.
early.
Yeah.
But how did we get from there to men and women being in their 30s, still saying they're not ready to settle down? Let's do some
If you want kids, you don't wait till after like 32 and shit like that. You don't start there, you know what I'm saying? Maybe your last one, your second, whatever, but you don't start after 30. Jesus, it's just like, bro, don't do it. Like, you don't want to do that if you want kids. Again, I'm not saying everybody's meant to have kids, and I know that life doesn't align to where you may have planned. I know probably most millennials, we all probably thought that we was going to be married with a house and making a decent amount of money at like 25 to 27, and we'll start popping out kids at that point. And most of us realize that that's just shit is just not what's gonna happen. Like, you're not ready for everything at 25. You know what I'm saying? But if you're lucky to get to a position at 25 to where you're living comfortably and you have a loving relationship with somebody that you think you could spend the rest of your life with, then you start having kids. You know what I'm saying? Like I said from the beginning, you don't wait till like, I don't have enough money, you know what I'm saying? But you don't want to do it if you're struggling, like destitute, you know. But if you good, you will be okay. Like, you'll be okay if you're in a comfortable position in your life. It doesn't mean you don't want to be flat out broke, of course, and trying to figure out how you're gonna put gas in the car next week. But you also ain't gonna be the richest you'll ever be. You know what I'm saying? So
math. Say you're my age of 35, but you're still single and you plan to do life the right way. You know, first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes a baby in a baby carriage. If you meet a woman today and you're taking your time to get to know that woman, it may be 2 years before you move in together, another year before you get engaged, another year before you get married. Then you decide to have kids. Only problem is you're 40 now, which is fine because you're not a woman. But
that's true. If you start you after 35 and you ain't did none of the shit and you want to, you're just rushing to do everything. You moving, like you said, you moving in, you're having kids, you're getting married. Like that shit is not ideal. It's not ideal. If you want kids, it's not ideal.
You're also fucking 40. So by the time your kid graduates high school, you'll be damn near 60. And the chances of you really getting to have a relationship with your grandkids are slim to none. Of course, if you even get to meet your grandkids in the first place. Because if your kids has kids at 40, just like you did, that puts you at 80. The average life expectancy for a man is 75. So that's just something to think about. And if you're thinking about having kids, hopefully you're thinking about getting married first. And here's a video on how to improve the marriage rate. I'm out.
Yeah, man, I think that was a I'm still getting used to this camera being right here, y'all. I'm still looking off to the side to where my camera used to be. But yeah, I think that was a good video. I think he made some good arguments. Like I said, the one I pointed out just about men's health, I think that's not unique to having kids. But I think a lot of that other stuff was like the discipline and stuff, you know what I'm saying? And he said the kids are just being funny. It's giving you, you know what I'm saying? You want to look forward to having grandkids, all that stuff. Yeah, like even if you don't want kids and you get married and y'all grow old together, if you don't have kids, you kind of, like he said, one of y'all lose one another. Nobody's there to take care of you. Your parents are gone. Your grandparents are gone. You know, once you're at that age where everybody before you is gone, your friends aren't going to be able to take care of you. They have their own families, hopefully. You know what I'm saying? So you want a spouse that can take care of you. You want kids that can take care of you. You want grandkids that can take care of you. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm not saying take care of you in the sense of it hinders their life or what they have going on, or you're a burden necessarily. But you know what I'm saying? Like my mother helped my grandmother. My grandmother just passed at 97 years old. My mother helped her from the moment my mom retired and had to turn around and help her mother for the last decade or so. You know what I'm saying? I think, well, she was taking care of her before she retired, honestly, you know, but she was having, of course, as she got older, health issues started to get worse over time. And she was there every step of the way, you know what I'm saying? And now she's, of course, you know, we all had to come to terms with what was going to happen. But at the end of the day, she's happy that now she can just be with her grandkids. You know, it doesn't feel like a burden. It's just happiness just to see these little kids that your kids created just coming into life. You know what I'm saying? So if that is something you do want in life, go for it, man. Don't force it. Of course, don't rush into it, you know, but be proactive about what you want. If you want a partner, go to the places you think you can find one worthy. You know what I'm saying? Treat them right. Treat yourself right. Treat your friends and family right. You know what I'm saying? And I think all those things should fall into place. Everybody out here isn't an evil person trying to take advantage of you. As much as these red pill guys want to say that all women is just trying to get money out of you and they want to accuse you with false allegations and all that shit is few and far in between. And usually it comes from the guy isn't innocent in most cases when shit just goes up in flames. A lot of times they're not 100% innocent. Just because you read stuff on headlines about these women killing men and stuff, and it came out of left field, that's not the norm, and which is why it's a headline. That's out of the ordinary. It's a one in a millions of chances that a woman just goes haywire and ends up killing a man that didn't do anything. Now, I'm not saying he deserves to die if he did do something, but y'all get what I'm saying. All women aren't vindictive, evil monsters out to get something from somebody. They want love just the same way you do. And if you treat people well, you'll get that same in return. But if you made it to this point in the video, man, make sure you leave a like, comment, sub. If not one, then all three. And I'm going to catch y'all in the next one. Peace.